Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. With some breaking news as 8 players have been included in a Springbok alignment camp happening this weekend as the Springboks kind of wrap up their sort of couple of weeks session down in Cape Town. And it's a recall for Springbok and Bulls wing Nkosi, who's back within the Springbok frame for the first time in well over a year after last year's injury sort of plagued him and sort of ruled him out of any sort of Springbok action. Before we talk about some of the players and what it means, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. So the Springboks have been in Cape Town for the last few weeks, and it was interesting to sort of see which players were called up. And there were then sort of a couple of rumors that a couple of other players were going to be sort of added to the sort of the mix and within these sort of training camps. And I think more alignment camps is what we sort of now use. And it's all about making sure that players who are of national interest understand the structures, understand what's going on, so that if they get called in, they are aligned with the strategy and stuff like that. And we've had 14 players that have been down there, and it was sort of the usual suspects. Your Eminence, basically, Sisbongi, Manambis, Oxenchairs, those sort of players, David Willemses and stuff like that. Now we have had a development of 8 players. And they are as follows: Joseph Weber, Dion Fourie, Marco van Staden, Evan Roos, Hershey Yankees, Grant Williams, Libbok, and Nkosi, who will be involved in 2 days off-field sessions on Saturday and Sunday. And so it's quite interesting to sort of see. Now, first of all, these are all players who have been involved in the box over the last 18 months. And the Springbok management are very loyal to the players that they bring in. And I think that it's a really good thing. I think that, some people sort of talk about favoritism and talk about the fact that, it means that you can't get into the box squad, but I think that's wrong. I think the fact that Hershey Yankees and Grant Williams have been added to the squad shows how, they've both been in really good form. Grant Williams was part of the squad last year. Hershey Yankees has really sort of, stepped up his game in the last couple of months, and he's been rewarded for it. But at the end of the day, they don't just discard players like that. They very much sort of see players and they pick profiles on players that they believe will work in their system, and they're happy to sort of risk themselves and back these players to come right. So, for example, we go through it. Dion Fourie, I think is very much in the World Cup squad mix, to be honest. I think that, with some of the performances we saw from him last year, and the performances we're seeing from him on a week-to-week basis down in the Stormers, I think he is very much in the mix. Marco van Staden and Nkosi are 2 players who were never really dropped from the box, just weren't really available because of injury. So it's, that now they're back and fit and stuff like that, they naturally return to the squad. So it's interesting because, some other nations very much pick a series by series sort of squad. And sometimes have a series by series sort of group, and a couple players drop out, drop in. And the Springboks are a little bit like that, but they've always had a very large sort of block of players they then sort of cut down. They've almost got like, different tiers. Tier 1 players are players you will play week in, week out, and will play in like the World Cup final, stuff like that. Tier 2 are sort of those squad fillers. Tier 3 are then the extras. But they're not an environment where they like to only work with 33 players, 35 players. They'd rather work with a squad of 40 to 47 players, for example. So when injuries happen, they've got the depth and they've got players who align, understand the systems, which I think it's a very good thing. Evan Roos right now is not even currently fit, not even currently playing, and yet is involved in the alignment, so very much obviously still in the framework for the year. Libbok, very good to see that he's being involved as he continues his good form at the Stormers and adds an extra flower option. And then Nkosi making a return. And again, he was never dropped from the box. And we spoke about this last night in the fan forum. The fact that whenever sort of they were asked about injuries, they always talked about, Nkosi is not available. It was never a case of not picking him last year. So he's come back. He's had a really good start to things back at the Bulls. He's scoring tries, he's looking good. And once again, back within the setup. He's been in a long time. In the setup. He's been in the setup for, almost about 5 years these days. No, more than 5 years. So he's very. He played in a World Cup semi-final. So it's really good to see him back. And again, such a cool success story for a player who found himself in the darkest of places less than 6 months ago, less than almost 4 months ago, and yet has been able to work through it, come out the other side. Start playing back for the Bulls, and now is sitting in Cape Town with the Springboks back in that mix, back with Rassie Erasmus, back with Jacques Nienaber, being told how he's going to be used for the Springboks in the year to come. So very interesting sort of squad there. There's been no overseas alignment camps as of yet. We will hopefully start to see those in the coming months, and it'll be interesting to see which of those players will be involved in those. Yeah, for now, those are sort of the 22 players, I suppose, that have been involved in sessions in South Africa as we look to really up the ante on our World Cup preparations. Our first game does get underway on 10th of September. Let me know what you think of the call-ups down in the comments below. Please do smash a like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven. I'll chat to you soon.